Oral question, Baroness Pigeon.
Leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
My Lords, in the spending review, the Government allocated £616 million for Active Travel England from 2026 to 2030 to support local authorities to build and maintain walking and cycling infrastructure. Revenue funding details will follow very soon. This is in addition to the almost £300 million for 2025-26 we announced in February, which included £30 million to the Walk Wheel Cycle Trust, formerly Sustrans, to deliver improvements to the National Cycle Network.
I welcome the answer from the Noble Lord the Minister, but can I push him, as part of the Government's strategy development, to mandate public rights-of-way for walking, wheeling and cycling alongside new railway lines, as well as improving existing railway active travel routes, transforming more disused railway lines into public rights-of-way?
Local highway authorities are responsible for public rights-of-way and are required to keep a rights-of-way improvement plan. Where opportunities exist to bring historical routes into use for walking, wheeling or cycling, local authorities must decide how to integrate them into their active travel networks. The Government's announced its intention to remove the 2031 cut-off date for recording unregistered historic rights-of-way, so routes can continue to be identified, protected and enjoyed. And I think the Noble Baroness will know that in respect of new railway lines, and particularly HS2, there are plans to use the line of route for also for walking and cycling paths.
55% of cyclists are women. In this country, it's half that, at 25%. So what is the government doing to encourage more women to enjoy the benefits of cycling?
I hesitate to speak in front of such a well-known cyclist as the Noble Lord. The answer to that question is to make cycling both more convenient and safer. And there are a whole range of measures, including the ones set out in the two previous answers, in order to make cycling a more general feature. Of course, safety is particularly an issue, which is why the investment needed in making dedicated cycle paths and cycling on the highway are both important. And there are a whole range of measures, many of which will no doubt come up in the next 8 minutes, about safety, about the highway code and all those things, in order to do what the Noble Lord is absolutely right about, which is to get a much better gender balance in cycling.
Lord, while the Minister's on this subject, can he update the House on what action has been taken against cyclists who dangerously drive their bikes around the country, often causing damage to the general public?
My noble friend will know that this isn't the first time at all that this subject's been raised in this House, and there are a variety of actions that need to be taken, including enforcement, which is of course the responsibility of chief police officers. But he will also note that in the new crime and policing bill, intended to tackle the rare instances where a cyclist's behaviour is so dangerous or careless that it results in the death or serious injury of another road user, that the government is proposing new provisions in order to treat that with the appropriate seriousness in the same way as any other road user.
Lords, my Lords. Perhaps put in new permitted development rights for cycle routes and wheel and walking routes, because that could be done by changing existing regulations. It could be done quite easily, because allowing these paths to go ahead, I would say, is crucial for human health.
All too frequently, the Noble Baroness wants to answer my questions. She's really very welcome. The question about permitted development rights, I think, is a blind alley, though I'll take some advice and write to the Noble Baroness about it. What we're talking about is making this easy and economical to do. And I think that the previous answer to the question demonstrates that the government is putting money into this activity for local transport authorities and also giving the opportunity for them to develop their plans I'll take some advice and see whether the Noble Baroness's suggestion is something I should write to her about.
Crossbench.
The plans to increase the number.
My Lords, order is to turn the crossbenches.
My Lords, I wonder if the Noble Lord the Minister could update us on the review on floating bus stops, which are truly democratic and in fact they're lethal for everybody.
Well, the Noble Lord was active on this subject during the passage of the Bus Services Act, and I'm delighted to tell him that my colleague in the other place, the Minister for Buses and Roads, has now written to every local transport authority in England about floating bus stops. I committed in this House to a pause whilst on the particularly difficult design of ones that require passengers to board or alight directly from or into a cycle track. My colleague has now written to all the local authorities saying there should be a pause on design whilst we work through with interested parties what a better and more satisfactory design is.
Lord Hampton, at this time of year, the thoughts of many of us turn away from active travel and move more towards the bus. Much cycle infrastructure that has been installed has actually inhibited bus journeys and has contributed to deteriorating journey time. Does the Noble Lord think that the powers given to be devolved to local authorities in the English Devolution Bill on transport are going to make this situation better or worse, and why?
Well, the Noble Lord certainly knows about that because during his time working for the erstwhile Mayor of London, and he incidentally directed me as the Commissioner of Transport to probably take out more road space than anybody's ever done in London for the benefit of cyclists. And it certainly is the case that on some occasions that design has reduced bus service speeds with detrimental effect to overall journey times. The answer to this is to give local transport authorities both the powers and the money to do the job correctly and the training. And one of the things that again has been mentioned here before is the additional money for training for local transport authority officers so that the design of cycle lanes as part of the general highway network is a benefit to cyclists without too much of a detriment to other traffic, especially buses.
My Lords, further to the question from my noble friend Lord Watts, we all know and the Minister knows that if a motorist goes through a red light, there are consequences, whether it's to points on the licence or fines or maybe increased insurance costs, whatever. Can you just remind the House what penalties accrue to cyclists when they go through red lights?
Well, the first thing to say is the Highway Code tells cyclists to behave properly on the road. Enforcement of the Highway Code is up to chief police officers, and it's not our job to tell them what to police. But of course, actually, when there is enforcement, then compliance is much greater. And what we're seeking here is not penalties, but compliance, because it ought to be safe to cycle, it ought to be safe to drive, and it ought to be especially safe for pedestrians, particularly people with disabilities, to cross the road when the traffic lights are red.
On this. So the government's consultation for the new cycling and walking investment strategy for England does not set any specific targets to increase these modes of transport, and there are no KPIs to make it more inclusive, for example, for people with disabilities. Will the Minister ensure that the final strategy addresses these concerns, or else we won't see the action we need? Yeah.
So the Noble Baroness is absolutely right that currently there are no targets, but the consultation on the third cycling and walking investment strategy, which started on the 3rd of November and runs till the 15th of December, is wide-ranging, and it will inform the next strategy, which runs from 2025 to 2030. And as part of that, we will consider what targets need to be established for precisely the reason that she says.
Are there any plans to increase the number of bridle paths as well? The roads are becoming ever more dangerous for horse riders. I declare my interest as a horse rider.
I believe that the responsibility of local highway authorities, so long as the bridle path is a public right of way, is, as I said in the original, in the supplementary answer, which was they're required to keep a rights of way improvement plan. So I think there is a responsibility on local highway authorities to consider the proper establishment of bridle paths. And as I said before, the government's announced its intention to remove the present 2031 cut-off date for recording unregistered historic rights of way. So I would advise the noble Baroness that if she knows of ones which are well used but which are not registered as rights of way, now is the time to put that right.
Fourth oral question, Lord